Hello and a very good morning, everyone. I hope you all are fit and healthy. You all are taking all precautions from the virus. The ones who have taken the vaccines, I hope you all are good. And I encourage people to take vaccines so that you all be, saved from this deadly virus. Even if it affects you, you will be at least not bound for more difficulties, but yes, you will be protected. Maybe there will be few symptoms but not the dangerous symptoms. So I encourage you all to take the vaccines. Okay, to start with, I am Miss Aisha Siddiqui from Arham College, a teacher for special English. I am teaching the second year BA students and we are on semester 4. I'll be doing the additional English, special English paper 2, the poetry book, you can say. And I've always shown you all this book that I am referring and you all can refer to. And we have to start with on page number 88, poem 2 of semester 4, Sailing to Byzantium by W.B. East. I have already covered half part of the poetry wherein we have done about the poet, about the poem, and we also read the whole poetry. So now we'll be going and analyzing each and every line of the poetry so that we understand the whole meaning of it. I'm sharing my screen for you all students. So yes, today we are going to start with analyzing or analysis of sailing to Byzantium, stanza 1. So we are going to start with lines 1 and 2. All right. What are the first two lines? That is no country for old men, the young in one another's arms, birds in the trees. Now, what does this mean? In the first stanza, the poet says that he is sailing to Byzantium from Ireland because the country is not suitable for old people to live there. Now, this shows that the poet is in his old age and he's not in his young age. So, at the end of his life, he wanted and he was traveling to Byzantium. And he says that Ireland is no place for old people, as all the music and trends and everything is for the youngsters, for the young people, and not for the old ones. So he wants to travel to a place that is much more highly spiritual and holy, and therefore he chose Byzantium to travel to. Old men are shut out from the kind of life that is available here, because life there is all physical and sensual. From this life, he is sailing to the city of Byzantium where intellectual life is waiting for him. What does he say? Even though, if you know right now, right, in UK, London, and all, you'll find there are clubs, there are discos, there is so much more. It all is for the younger generation. What will the old people do there? So much, loud music and sensual things, physical world, and all the people working, rushing to work, activity, then club life, night lives, and so much more going on over there. There's no place for the older generation to be active there or to do anything. They are more disturbed in such kind of place. The old people do not like very high or loud music, too much of you can say shor sharaba in Hindi. So this is not liked by the older generation. So he wants to move to a place where there is more of, calmness in his spirituality, where he can use more of his intellect for his for the people, right? And therefore he wants to move out from this place that is so much into music, loudness, physical, sensual place, and wants to go to a place that is very calm and soothing. And that when he thought of a place, he came to the idea of the city of Byzantium, where intellectual life is waiting for him. The poem begins with a declarative sentence. In the first line itself, there's a declaration that this is no country for old men. So straight away, he has told that this country is only for the youth and the younger generation. Straight away, the reader senses the importance of each diction. So much he wants to say that the old generation is not liked here. For the instant of using this, that means the country, UK, the speaker is currently in. So he is in the country of Ireland, UK, and therefore he says that this is not the place for the older generation. The speaker instead says that, which gives you the sense of the speaker is looking to a country where he wants to move, that is at a very distance. Perhaps he wants to travel, and he has already started his journey to Byzantium, and he opens up the poem that he's writing his poem in the during of a journey, and therefore he wants to travel to one place and known as Byzantium. That is no country for old men. Now he's on his travel, and therefore he thinks the country that he's left is no country for old men. They will not find that country suitable for them to live in, the older generation. That country means Ireland, UK, where the old poet is living at present, from where he sails to Byzantium. So he's from Ireland, he's sailing to Byzantium. The country he has left for sailing to Byzantium is described in the lines of the first stanza. So he describes it. How in the lines, the young and dies. From where to where, he has described it as the young in one another's arms. So what are the younger generation? They love, right? Love and friendship. They're more in another arm here and there, birds in the trees. So they like all this nature, and the youngsters prefer this life, right? Those dying generations, that means the older generations. The poet has described Ireland the country of physical and sensual life. So he says that UK, up to date, even till now, not necessarily at his time, even till now, it is a place for the younger generation with more physical and sensual life, and not a life for the older generation. No person will like that place if he wants to be calm in his life and to have a focused life, to use his more intellectual life. So nobody will like that, because that's a very fast place for the younger generation, for the physical and sensual life, with more music, with more dancing, with more, all of this. And no one can in all of this rush use his intellectual more. The rest of the stanza is the speaker's explanation as to why his former country, that means Ireland, is not a welcoming place for those who are older. He says it's not a welcoming place for them. In the second stanza, in the second line, Yeats writes, the young in each another's arms, birds in the trees. Here the speaker's former house sounds idyllic, as the young lovers are wrapped in each other's arms. So this country, he says that Ireland is for the younger one who are into each other's arms. They love each other. They're more active and physical. And the young people enjoy pleasure of love. What will the old people do? They are finished off with their life. They need more silence, more calmness, right? So he says that this place is not for the older generation. Now let's go to lines 3 and 4. What are the lines 3 and 4? Those dying generations at their song, the salmon falls, the mackerel. Just a minute, student. I hope the laptop keeps on working. All right. Let's continue. I'll just share my screen back again. So we were on the third line, right? The third and the fourth line. Here the speaker seems to be commenting on the creatures who inhabit his former land. So he's talking about all the feet, all the creatures there, the living creatures. Instead of concentrating on the things that will last forever, they instead only enjoy what is right in front of them at the very moment. So he says that they do not depend, or they do not want the one, and they do not even thinking of the things that these things are going to end. These things are not going to last forever. Not anything in your life that you have, nothing lasts forever. not your things. So if you feel that this money that you have is going to last forever, no, my dear friends, it's not going to last forever. If you feel that the house or the things or the people that you have, they're going to last forever, no, they're not going to last forever. Everyone is going to leave one or the other time, right? So what does the younger generation think, that these people are going to last forever, this thing is going to last forever? So they just enjoying whatever is there in front of them without thinking for the future. But the older generation has seen life and they're more experienced, so they know that these things do not last forever, and therefore they're not attached and they do not concentrate on whatever is in front of them. They know that this thing is going to go at time, and therefore they enjoy more spirituality. They're more matured enough to know that, but the younger generation does not do that. Therefore he's comparing the younger generation of his former land. That means he's talking about the creatures of his Ireland country, right? The natural imagery of the previous lines continues as the speaker details all the beautiful creatures that are in his former home. All the beautiful creatures he's actually expressing the creatures now. The speaker bitterly tells that all of these creatures will one day grow old as well. So even the fish, the birds, and all the other creatures lead an animal physical life which is spent in procreation. All these creatures are born, they're going to grow, and even the animal kind is going to grow old one day and die. So even the nature that you see is recreating every time. It's not the same thing that has been many years back. Even that is being recreated, right? All the kinds of creatures are born, then they indulge in the young life, then they give babies and they procreate a new one, a new life they give, and therefore they become old and they die. So this is the course of life. This is life, and this is how everyone is going to be born and finally going to die. They do not lead intellectual and artistic existence. Therefore all the creatures of that country lead animalist physical life spent in procreation. So as the animals do not have intellect, they do not have artistic excellence in them, so they don't need any different type of life. They start living, they give birth, they become old, and then they die, right? Similarly, the people of Ireland are following the animal life. They are becoming they're growing, their physical life is spent, and then they give birth, and then they die. The creatures there are born, procreate, and then they die. So he's actually in these lines showing the creature of the nature's creature, right? Let's go to the line number 5 to 8. That is, fish, flesh, or fowl commend all summer long. Whatever is begotten, born, and dies, caught in that sensual music, all neglect, monuments of unaging intellect. What does this mean? The waterfalls of that country are crowded with salmon fish. So the name of the fish is salmon. So the word here, the salmon falls. So there's a waterfall which has a small lake down and it has salmon fish there. Besides, the seas there are teeming with mackerel fish. So another name, mackerel. So don't think that what does this mean? What does this line mean? The salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas. So the salmon falls means the waterfall that has the salmon fish, and the ocean that has the mackerel fish or the seas. All these creatures, that means the birds and the fish, listen to sensual music and do not indulge in an intellectual or artistic activities. So he's saying that these animals, they do not have intellect, right? They do not have brain. I mean, they have brain, but they do not think like humans. So they do not have that intellectual or artistic activities, and therefore this sensual music do not harm them. But for the older generation who wants to act in an intellectual and artistic sense, for them this sensual music really harms them. Let's go to line number 7 and 8. The poet says, these creatures listen to sensual music without caring for intellectual activities. Now, all these creatures, as I said, they do not have any intellectual. So, which intellectual activity is ageless and so of a permanent value? Great works of art never dies. So he's saying that all these animals, they do not care of having their intellectual used in the right way. We humans at times feel that I'm very intellect, I'm very intelligent, I want to use my intelligence in a good way, and therefore all this sensual music and the sensual world that is going on over there will not let your intellect or intelligence come out in the right way, because of so much of disturbance of this sensual music. But the creatures do not care because they do not have to use the sensual music, right? Great works of art never die. So the poet wants to give some great work, as he's been given all his life. He wants to give good work even at the end of his life, where his wisdom is good, right? Old people have good experience and wisdom, therefore he wants to give this wisdom out. But all this music and this world around him in this place is disturbing him a lot, and therefore the intellect is not being used. The intellectual achievements are supposed to be ageless and immortal and so of permanent value. So he wants to give a permanent, valuable thing to the world. The reference is to the things of beauty which are a joy forever. He wants to he does not want to give a thing that is only for that moment, right? So he wants to give a thing that is going to exist for life, something very valuable. That's why he wants to move to a place that he can stay more calm and silent and work on his wisdom. All right. So I hope this was clear. Now we'll be moving to stanza number 2. But before going to stanza 2, I hope you understood the whole stanza 1, right? Now let's go to stanza 2, lines 1 and 2. An aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick unless. What does this mean? The second stanza is more of the same like the first one. Readers cannot dismiss the bitter tone that is present in the stanza. East diction is particularly telling, comparing the old man to a new young youth, to the old one is an insignificant small thing for this world. He infers that there is nothing left for an old man in this country. He is simply a stick wearing a worn and a torn jacket. That means an old jacket that nobody needs. East seems to be commenting here, however, that just because one is old, it does not mean that he has old soul. For the soul of a man is clapping and singing loudly. Even he wants to live. Even the old people like to live out their world. But the younger one does not allow them, as they think that their music, their world, their movies, everything is theirs. The world is theirs, right? Therefore, they leave out the old generation to one corner. Apart from that, the second stanza can be interpreted little differently. Here, the poet, as an old man, is sailing to Byzantium from Ireland. The first stanza, he has described the country from which he is sailing away, while in the second stanza, the poet portrays the benefits of the country he's going to arrive in. All right. So he, in the second stanza, he's mostly giving an introduction for the place he's going to come. In the first stanza, he's given a complete description about the place that he's leaving and why is he leaving, the reason behind it. And therefore, in the second stanza, he's introducing to a new place and why is he going to that place, right? The poet begins by saying that an aged man is worthless with an tattered coat upon his weak and thin body. The old man looks like a scarecrow. So he's saying that people actually look at old people and they feel like they're old with old torn jacket, thin and of no use, like a scarecrow. In the first line of the stanza, when the poet says an aged man is but a paltry thing, he means that an aged old person is paltry, an insignificant thing. While in the line 10 of the poem, when he says a tattered coat upon a stick, That means then he's not actually saying a stick. A stick means a very thin person. In old age, you will become very thin like that. Very thin man with just hanging coat on him. That too, the jacket is torn. He makes use of a metaphor. So the stick he's making use, that he's comparing a very old man, a thin man, with a stick. So it's a metaphor which represents old age as the old torn coat that is hanging on the bamboo pole or a stick. That means an old man. So it's a metaphor used here. Let's see line number 3 and 4. Soul clap its hands and sings, and louder sing for every tatter in its mortal dress. In lines 3 and 4, when he says, unless soul clap its hands and sing, he means to say that unless the soul feels thrilled, claps its hands and sings a happy song, that is a state of spirituality. So when the old soul will clap his hands or he'll feel very happy or thrilled, then he'll be in a state of spirituality, right? By and louder sing. When will he sing very loudly? When he's very spiritually happy. For every tatter in its mortal dress, he means that the more worn out his bodily dress is, the louder the soul will sing. So the outer thing does not matter for old people, but their inner soul has to be happy. Here the speaker informs the reader that the more tatter in dress one is, the louder the soul will sing, because the aged have earned their song. Besides, a man merely old is worse off than youth. Something positive must be added. So something positive the old person needs to see. If the soul can wax and go strong as the body wanes in advancing years, then every step in the dissolution of the body, every tatter in its mortal dress, is the cause for the future increase in joy. But this can happen only if the soul can rejoice its power of magnificence. When the soul of the old person will feel very powerful, when he is in its complete calmness, in a very good place of calmness, right? And according to him, a calm place, he's going to go to Byzantium and have a very calm place, right? Lines 5 and 8. Nor is there singing school, but studying monuments of its own magnificence. And therefore I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. In this section, he says that the best music for the soul of an old man is to study and appreciate the grand monuments of immortal intellect. So he wants to use his intellect wherein it will be immortal, it will never get over. He'll give new things to the new generation, it will never get over. And finally, he's given these poetries to us, which is everlasting. Not only our generation, even the back generation has studied, even the future generation will study. So he's given a thing that is immortal to us. An aged man acquires some merit or some value for his old age, accompanied by a spiritual, admiring great work of art. The soul of the old man must be strong to see. I'm so sorry, students. So he's saying the soul of the old man must be strong. To neglect this, the bad youth, right? To do so, the older man must sail to Byzantium, which the poet describes as a very holy city. Byzantium is a symbol of the ideal, aesthetic, and transformed existence, and suggests a far off, unfamiliar civilization where art is for its own sake and whose religion is in an exotic form. That means, moreover, the couplet in the second stanza clearly announces that the speaker has left his home to visit the holy city of Byzantium. Throughout its history, Byzantium, that is now Constantinople and then Istanbul, has been known as a center of the art and intellectualism. The speaker feels he will be much more appreciated in this area. Now he's talking about Byzantium. Now, if you know, Byzantium is a very popular, a very calm place, a very beautiful in scenery. It is known for its scenery and its old traditional values. this place, Byzantium, actually values all the old traditions, and they do not, and I mean, of course there is youth encouragement, but they do not feel, or they have not left the old traditions and all. So it's a very calm and holy place with all traditions intact. And therefore he says that he this place will value his art and intellectual, not the place that he was living in London and UK, because there they treat more of the younger generation. The physical world is growing, the more sensual world is growing, but this place will value his work, and this place will value all of his things that the older place will not, must have not valued him. So the speaker feels he is much more appreciated in this area, and therefore he wants to go to Byzantium where his work will be valued, and leave the place where his work will not be valued. And therefore, in this class, we have covered stanza 1 and stanza 2 line wise. So I hope this whole thing was understood completely. It is a very valuable message this poet has given us through this poetry, wherein stanza 1 and stanza 2 is already completed. The whole analysis is done. Y'all can write it in your own words, and y'all can feel the whole story and write it. All right. With this, we learn the moral that we should value the older generation and just do not run and run behind our physical life, but also value the wisdom and the knowledge the older generation gives us. Right. So this is the moral from these two stanzas that we have come across. In the coming classes, we will be doing stanza 3 and 4 in full detail, and therefore we'll finish off with this poetry finally. I hope this class and this explanation was valuable for you all. You all understood it, you all gained knowledge. I want you all to bring up this gained knowledge and appreciate it, and also spread it to people, right? Thank you very much, students. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay home, and do take care of your health.